Shalom, giving all praise and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rahakodash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well in Shalom to Arkin pushing this word around the globe in faith and in truth and sincerity. As always, I'd like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that do look like the other nations, because Israel has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities, so we're going to look like all people. However, if you're the lineage of your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible named Jacob, who is then later named Israel. It's like I knocked something over. Yeah, if your lineage of your forefathers goes back to Jacob, who is then named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because as pertaining to Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18, your lineage is determined by the line of your forefathers, and that's your nationality. Okay, so I want to do a quick lesson on an article I was just reading here. Bear with me a second, let me just check something. It's lucky, I just had to do something. Yeah, so we've got this article here which says Pure Jim is sorry for unacceptable slavery post. Now this was published 6 hours ago and it's the 5th of October, I believe. So it says Pure Jim said the post was removed as soon as it was brought to our attention. So it says fitness center operator Pure Gym has apologized unreservedly for an unacceptable Facebook post from one of its gyms about slavery. The Luton and Dunstable gym said slavery was hard, and so is this, regarding a workout designed to celebrate Black History Month. Now, this Black History Month shit is nothing but pure folly, because, you know, when you really look at Black History Month, they only go back as far as, say, like, you know, the maybe late 1700s, early 1800s. They don't really go back any further than that. So it's like, if you're wondering where you came from, you're never going to find out in Esau's public fool system, because that's all designed to keep you away from the truth of your true heritage, that you didn't just come from Africa. You know, we are the true biblical Israelites. And yes, we did go into slavery on cargo slave ships, but that was one of the prophecies that was written about in the days of Moses, you know, that we would go into chattel slavery. And the Bible is the true so-called Black history. That's our true lineage. You know, those people in the Bible, those are our ancient, foreparents and ancestors. You know, Moses, Aaron, Samson, you know, Joshua, Caleb, Gideon, Samuel, King David, King Solomon, you know, Daniel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Ezra. You know, those are all our people, and that is our true history. So let me just continue here. So it says it was designed to celebrate Black History Month. In a statement, Pure Gym said that the post was wholly unacceptable and was not approved or endorsed by the company. Pure Gym added it was removed as soon as it was brought to our attention. The company is the largest UK gym chain by membership. The workout entitled 12 Years a Slave. Oh my God. The workout entitled 12 Years a Slave, after the Oscar-winning movie with a similar title, included 12 different moves such as burpees, push-ups and box jumps. Now this is funny because it goes to show that they obviously know that predominantly Jake is, you know, fitter and stronger and healthier than Esau. So obviously they're designing this to market to Jake's, because Esau didn't go into chattel slavery. So it just kind of shows that the truth, in a sense, because the scriptures say that one shall be stronger than the other, meaning Jacob was going to be physically stronger than Esau, and that the elder should serve the younger. Anyway, let's carry on with this and then we'll get the scriptures in a bit. So this is a tweet. It says, Pure Gym, official statement from Pure Gym regarding Slakia. It's lucky about that. It says official statement from Pure Gym regarding an inappropriate post on the Luton and Dunstable Gym social media channels. Statement from Pure Gym. It says Pure Jim unreservedly apologizes for a post regarding Black History Month that was made to date by our gym in Luton and Dunstable. This post was wholly unacceptable and was not approved or endorsed by the company and was removed when it was brought to our attention. We take this matter extremely seriously and are urgently investigating how and why this post was made. Thank you to those people who commented on this post and for raising this with us. Many users responded angrily to the gym's Facebook post, with one saying Pure Gym had an offensively tone-deaf marketing team, while another said it was wrong, insensitive, and horrendous on all levels. Pure Gym each of our 271 gyms has its own social media channels, which are run locally. We take this matter extremely seriously and are urgently investigating how and why this post was made. The 2013 film 12 Years a Slave, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor, was based on the memoirs of Solomon Northup, a black musician sold into slavery in the US in 1841. Now, there's something about 12 Years a Slave that I noticed. I'm not sure if anybody else has brought it out, so maybe I'll bring it out in a moment. It says the Labour MP for MP Luton North, Sarah Owen, said on Twitter, the offensive advert shows exactly why we need Black History Month and why Black Lives Matter movement is so important. No, we don't need Black History Month, we just need the truth, which is the Holy Bible. So, let me see if I can bring this out. Alright, let's go. So if we go to imdb.com, I just want to so lucky I've got no internet. Damn, I'll have to do this another time then. I was just going to bring out the fact that the guy who plays in 12 Years a Slave was the same actor that played in the film Amistad, which shows that it's all kind of like, it's all controlled, man. Esau knew what he was doing when he put the film 12 Years a Slave out, and he used the same actor because it's all part of the same witchcraft that they want to put on our people, you know, to deceive people and get them all emotional over the things that they shouldn't be emotional about and distract them from being emotional about the things which they should be emotional about, which is the fact that we are the true Israelites. You know, Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans, we are the biblical Israelites. And then you've got the Israelite foreigners, who the people who I mentioned in the start, which may look like the other nations, but their seed line by their forefathers goes back to the man named Jacob in the Bible, who was the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham. So I'll bring out that little part I was going to bring out in another lesson, Lord willing. But let's get some scriptures. Jumping straight to the point. Now let me read up. I want to get all the curses. I want to get them all, man. Yeah, starting from 15, I believe. So we've got a bit of meat to read, but Lord willing, it will be edifying. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15 on down. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. And Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand to do, for until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Yahweh shall also make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. Yahweh shall smite thee with a consumption, and with fever, and with the inflammation, and with extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. And Yahweh shall make the rain of thy land powder, and dust from heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Now, there you go. It tells you that Israel's removed into all kingdoms, which goes back to the whole Israelite foreigner thing, you know. We're going to look like the other nations, but if our seed line by our forefathers goes back to Israel, we are Israelites, his descendants. Verse 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. Now that's an example of that is when we was in hardcore slavery, and Esau used to lynch us on the trees. You know, they used to lynch us and hang us on the trees, and they just leave the bodies there for our bodies to be for the meat of our carcasses to be food for birds and shit. You know, a good example of that is the book Without Sanctuary, which I'm actually looking at right now. It's on my little desktop, and that book Without Sanctuary has got a lot of, you know, images of Jake being lynched by Edomites who were so-called good, God-fearing Christians back then, which shows that this Christianity shit is nothing but that, just bullshit, you know. Continuing on, verse 27, Yahweh will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. And Yahweh shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored unto thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. That happened in slavery, you know. They'd separate families, they'd sell, you know, the mother to one slave owner, the father to another, and the children to another. They'd separate families like that. And you could even apply that in this time with the public education system, which is nothing short of what's really the public school system, because, you know, you're forced by law to send your children away for the large portion of the day to be indoctrinated into believing Esau's bullshit. You know, so you don't really have any power over your children. Your children are the property of the state, you know. The government own your children. Anyway, carrying on. Verse 33, the fruit of thy land and all thy labours shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. Yahweh shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs, and with a sore botch that cannot be healed, and from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which thou neither thy fathers have known, and there shall thou serve other gods wood and stone. That happened in the land of America, you know, serving other gods of wood and stone. But it happened all over the world, to be honest. And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword among all nations whither Yahweh shall send thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but neither shalt thou drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Again, I already addressed that point. All thy trees and the fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get high up above thee, and thou shalt come down very low. And that's happening right now. I mean, you have these heathens coming into Jake's community and setting up shops, and we have to go to them unto our enemies for the want of all things, because Jake don't own no industries. Jake might have a little small business, but he don't own the industries. He shall let, again, this precept goes into it. Deuteronomy 28:44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now these are the slavery prophecies, you see, because the only people that were put into heavy bondage with yokes of iron upon our necks were the Israelites. You Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans predominantly, And it says, verse 49, and Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. This is talking about these Edomites, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favour to the young. And he shall eat of the fruit of thy cattle, and of the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusted throughout all thy land. He shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout the land which Yahweh thy power hath given thee. I believe that's talking about 70 AD, if I'm not mistaken. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, and the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which Yahweh thy power hath given thee in the siege. 70 AD is talking about. And in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and to the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave. So that he will not give any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards the son and her daughter, and toward her young one that come out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for the want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. And if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name Yahweh thy power, then Yahweh will make all these wonderful, then Yahweh will make all thy plagues wonderful, and the plague of thy seed, even great plagues, and have a long continuance, and sore sickness, and have a long continuance. Moreover, here's the point, he will bring thee all the diseases of Egypt which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. And also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will Yahweh bring upon thee, that till thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you are as the stars of heaven from multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of Yahweh thy power. And it shall come to pass, that as the Lord rejoiced over you, to do you good, and to multiply you, so Yahweh will rejoice over you, to destroy you, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked off from the land whither thou goest to possess it. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahweh shall give thee a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and a sorrow of mind. and thy life shall hang about in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would it that the Most High it were even, and at the even thou shalt say, would it that the Most High it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And here's the ultimate point. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, having endured all of these curses, I think it's quite safe to say that no gym workout can even compare to a fraction of what it feels like to live under these curses, man. So they can take their fucking gym program and shove it up their asses, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you want to make light of our affliction, you want to make light of our slavery. Well, guess what? Tables are going to be turned very soon, my non-friend Edomite. I was going to say my Edomite friend, but my friends aren't no Edomites. Curses are going to come upon you guys. Here's the point, Deuteronomy 30:7. And Yahweh thy power will put all of these curses upon thine enemies, and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. You know? Let me read into this. Deuteronomy 30:1, and it says, it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yahweh thy power hath driven thee, and shall return to Yahweh thy power, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy power will turn their captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whither Yahweh thy power hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy power will bring thee into the land which thy forefathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy power will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed to love thy Yahweh thy power, thy God, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And this is the beautiful part, Deuteronomy 13:7. And Yahweh thy power will put all of these curses upon thine enemies, and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So you've got to ask yourself, who has persecuted the nation of Israel? The answer is all of you heathen nations have had a hand in persecuting the nation of Israel. You know, we just have to go to Psalms chapter 83 for that. Let me get it for edification's sake. Yeah, this is Psalms 83:1. A song of Psalm of Asaph. Keep not silence, O Most High. Hold not thy peace. Be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites. So the Edomites, you so-called white people, you Ishmaelites, you so-called Arabs, and of Moab, which are you so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, and Jebal and Ammon, Ammonites being you Japanese, and Amalek. Amalek's the chief house of, I think Amalek is the chief house of Edom. The Philistines, which are you Hamites, and the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur is also joined with them, I believe. Is Ashur Syrians? Salakia, I'm roughly paraphrasing this off the top of my head. I don't have the chart in front of me. It says, Ashur is also joined unto them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Caesar and to Jabin in the book of Kisom, which perished at Endor. They became as the dung of the earth. So basically, all these nations have had a part in Israel's captivity and downfall, but primarily, mostly you Edomites, they did it the worst. Now, what's going to happen is Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, is going to turn our captivity, which is what he's doing right now by waking up the elect, is going to turn our captivity and put these curses upon all the nations that have oppressed us. So you heathens are going to look forward to 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, and you Edomites have got 1,000 years of hardcore slavery ahead of you, and then you're going to be destroyed. Now, we'll see then who's going to talk about how some flipping gym workout's going to be as hard as slavery. You guys are going to drink of that cup. You're going to taste the fury and the wrath of the Most High, man, and then you're going to know what it feels like. So with that, giving all praise and all glory unto Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Hachudash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone of all well. Shalom to Akim, pushing this truth around the word with faith and sincerity. And, you know, Baba Kasha, Baba Kasha, Baba Kasha, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, Abad Babal, Wa, Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.